Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm on for my first tutorial using the products that I got from Globleland. So all the links will be down below to Globleland's shop and the individual products that I'm using this month. There's also a discount code there for you. All right, so let's get into it. So the dies I'm using this time are these bookmark dies. I'm going to start with them first, and then we've got the wildflower dies to use next time. I have some paper there. It's cardstock, which I used a brayer to colour. I just ran the brayer over with some yellow and then some orange paint. It's a bit of a mess, but I was surprised at how beautiful it looked once I die cut it. I've also got some dyed paper there for backgrounds that I just cut in half, and I'm not sure whether I made that or my mum made it or Carol gave it to me, but thank you to whoever did do that paper. So I'm using black cardstock as well for this. So I'm going to start there with that plain die. They're sort of like tags, but to me they're like bookmark tags. They're that sort of shape. Absolutely love these. So I've got my big shot there, and I'm just doing one sheet of cardstock at a time for this. So I've got the topper piece there. There's, I think, 5 of those decorative pieces that you can cut. So I'm cutting that first out of my painty paper. The acrylic paint can be a bit sticky at times, so that's a little bit harder to get out of the die than just plain cardstock. But I use my pokey tool while it's still stuck in the die there to get all the removable bits out. So I just whack them with my pokey tool. I found that the easiest way of doing things. And the die, all of these dies cut very nice and cleanly too. So I go about cutting the top decorative pieces out of some of the painted paper and some of the black cardstock. And then I also cut the base pieces out of both as well, so I can mix them up a bit. I'm keeping all the bits I punch out because initially I was thinking of layering some, but in the end I don't. But the little honeycomb pieces there would probably be really cool for some embellishments in the future, so I'll probably keep those. So to get the die out, I found it easiest. It does have the little holes that you can poke to lift it out a bit, but I found it good to sort of run my pokey tool just around the edges there to help lift it out. And then once it got going, I just pull it out gently. I have a bad habit of trying to pull them out and then ripping bits and bending them and that, so I was trying to be a bit more careful. So now I've just got that base piece, and I've got one of the decorative pieces again to cut out of the black cardstock. Decide to use a different one for this. I do cut them all out in the end. Thought I'd try them all. So you can see with the base piece how well it cut. Again, just go poking all the bits out. That base piece is going to come in so handy for a pile of projects that I want to do in the future. Great addition to my collection of dies to make pieces for journals. So you can see the little holes there that you can poke to push bits out as well, but it's easiest to get it started at one of the ends and then lift it and loosen bits around the edges to get it all out nicely. So there, I'm getting a bit quicker at running my pokey tool around the edge there. Just lifting it up from the end now and pulling it gently. If it gets stuck at it all along the way, I just run my pokey tool along wherever it's sticking a bit, and that lifts it nicely. Sorry, I am off screen a bit. And yeah, it cuts so nice. I really love those pieces. So then what I'm doing is grabbing 2 pieces of the dyed paper there and just cutting the background piece to put on the back for some writing space. You can write on the black cardstock, but I thought I would put some lighter, easier to write on space on the back. So they're all the bits that I have cut out. So now I've got to decide which bits I want to put on which. I've got 6 base pieces, and fortunately I cut 6 of the paper pieces to put on the back as well. So looks like we're making 6 in the end. So first thing to do is put a backing piece onto them. I struggled to line it up neatly with this first one, but then I figured out the easier way of doing it afterwards. If I started at the top with lining it up and then cut the base pieces in my hand would sort of correct their positioning better, so I got a bit quicker with that as I went. There were a few little tiny bits that stuck out that I ended up just trimming off. So the next thing to do is I'm using my Helmar's tacky glue there just to run around as much of that back of the top piece as I can, because I don't want bits lifting out when I slip it in and out of pockets. It's a little fiddly this, and sort of got to rush so that the glue doesn't dry as I'm putting it on. But I did manage. Awesome glue to use for this as well, because it dries clear. And any bits that did sort of poke out, I found that using my pokey tool just to scrape them up was the best way of getting them off. With this first one I sort of dabbed and rubbed, but that doesn't always end up removing it cleanly, so but doesn't that look awesome? I just love it, the contrast. So now I've got one with my painted paper for the top. This is the sunflower one, which is great because you could use that for your sunflower journals or your bee journals, any sort of nature themed journal. Whereas all the rest of the toppers have bees and that on them. Just flattening it all down. Trying to rub it with the glue eraser, and then I decide to try my pokey tool, and it works like a charm. I think it's that glue comes off real easy if you get it before it dries completely. It's very easy just to sort of scratch off the black cardstock, any bits that ooze out. I love the way that looks. I'm really happy with how the painted paper worked out. So then I just go around once they're done and trim off any bits that are uneven. So the last one I wanted to make, I have just the blank black cardstock, and I'm using my Distress Oxide ink here to do some stamping on it because that shows up on the black. It's funny though, because it is orange, but as it dried, it sort of just went white. But that's all right. It still looked really cool. I just wanted a bit of a background. And then there's these two pieces that come with the bookmark tags as well. And I thought they were really cool. So I wanted to do a bookmark with them. So just adding the glue again. Find it a lot easier using my tweezers now for fiddlier pieces to hold onto them while I'm applying the glue and then putting it onto the piece. I'm glad I've finally figured out how to use those tweezers, since you have to push them to open them and you know, let it go to close them. It's opposite than the tweezers I'm used to using, which has taken me forever to get used to, and I still oftentimes drop what I pick up because, yeah, I do things back to front with them. So I decided to hang both of these off the edge a bit and just trim them afterwards. Love that bee. I'm learning to be a bit more patient with my crafting. One of those people that likes to see progress done quick and easy. I'm a lazy crafter, but I'm learning that you've got to spend the time picking glue off of things and punching bits out and doing all those fiddly bits, but it's worth it in the end. So just trim the edges off now. So that is it for my bookmarks. We'll have a look at how they finished up in the end, and we'll get on with the next project, which is using these wildflower dies, which I love. There's 32 individual flower dies here. So I've got a whole lot of different coloured cardstocks. I decided to use my cardstocks because I have piles that I never use. So I haven't taken these dies apart. I thought it might be quick and easier just to leave them attached. Whack them in, which isn't necessarily the best way to get a clean cut. But I was surprised that in general these cut perfectly. I think there was one that even when I took them apart, one bit sort of didn't cut and I'd have to get my scissors out and cut it a bit or whatever. But otherwise, these just cut so well, considering, because I usually have a fair bit of trouble with this type of die. But there are things you can do to make it cut better. You know, you can get your different plates. I've seen it be suggested that you have your dies facing upwards when you cut them, just using one die at a time, things like that make it a bit easier. I do take them apart a bit later, and yes, they definitely cut even better, but they still cut fine like this. I was very surprised. So you can see I just pushed them sort of out of the cardstock, and now I'm using the holes in the die to pop them out. And again, I'm running my pokey tool along the stems and that rather than pulling on it so that they don't get bent and broken. And you can see these ones have just cut beautifully. So then I decide I will take them apart, which I wasn't going to do, because I thought it would be great to, while I've got them out, I want to cut one of each in black cardstock. And I thought I could keep all the ones that I cut to catalogue them. And also I wanted the negative as a stencil. So there I've done all of them. And I'm just cutting the negatives out. I couldn't really use the negatives for the ones joined together because they're too close together. And if you're going to use a brush or something to rub over the top, you want a bit of the cardstock around the outside so that you don't get ink where you don't want it. So I'm cutting all of these out. So now I've got some old book page and I'm just ripping it down into pieces. I want to make some journal embellishments with my wildflowers. They're pretty scrappy embellishments, but heaps of fun. Initially, I didn't want the white spots on the book page, so I did rip them off first, but then afterwards I thought, no, they might actually look good, so I take the edge ones off, but leave the tops on. Just rip myself a whole lot of rectangles. Not too pedantic about how big they are, I just want them so that my wildflowers fit on them. Now we want to try out the stencils that we made. So I'm just grabbing some of my distress inks here. And I finally got myself some blending brushes, yay! Well, I had a couple, but I just had a set of 3, and so I used them for all the different colours. So I really wanted some different coloured blending brushes to match with the colours that I use, so I can just have blue for blue and pink for pink. So I finally got around to getting some. So just getting some ink on the brush and rubbing it over my stencil there. And they're working nicely, So at the moment I've just got my blue distress inks, but I do go through and use various colours to do this. So these are sort of going to be the backgrounds for our wildflowers. It's a great way of making some extra stencils for yourself. So you can see there I have piles of stenciled backgrounds and piles of wildflowers cut. There's even a bee and a sunflower from the other dies. So I'm just grabbing ink that coordinates with one of the inks that I used for the stencils to go around the edge of my paper. Then I'm choosing a couple of wildflowers that I think will look nice over the top. Just glue them down with my tacky glue again. So I just put 2 or 3 wildflowers on each one of these. So I thought it needed something else, and I thought, why not add some of my cotton, because I have so much of the stuff that I can't seem to chuck out, and yeah, so I try and use it in everything these days. Why not? It's a good way of recycling. So I just add a pile of that with colours that I think look good on the bottom of each of them as well. So annoying trying to stick that stuff down because it sticks back to your, it will stick down, but then you get glue on your finger and it pulls it back up again. So I use the greaseproof paper, but it even happens with that at times. So, and then I grabbed my fly book page there to rip some of that out to back the whole thing. So basically I'm making these sort of cluster embellishments that you could use as a tuck spot in a journal or just a page decoration, or you could add it to a card or decorate an envelope or journal card or something like that with it as well. Just thought it was something sort of fun to do. So with the white edges, I do ink around them just a little bit. I like having the white edges a bit on there. Just add something different, but I do like having a bit of ink on them as well. And when I ink the book pages, I'm being quite messy with that as well. I have so many of those coloured fly book pages. I do love them though. The paper's such good quality, so most people who've been watching me for a while would know I use them all the time and everything, but why not? Beautiful colours. You can find every colour you want with them, so hence why I haven't used too much of my cardstock, and I have a lot of that sitting around, so that's why I thought I'd use that, because you could die cut the wildflowers out of your fly pages as well, and that would look really nice. So now choosing which flowers to put on top again. Oh, that looks nice, doesn't it? Such a fun project. And I have so many wildflowers now. That was the joy of leaving them all joined together and doing them. I just cut a whole pile at once. So now we just need a bit of my cotton scraps on this one. I found every colour I needed too. Finally done enough sewing in my journals to have cotton scraps for every colour under the sun. I've finished all my projects for today for Globleland, and look, I still have heaps of these wildflower die cuts to use for future projects as well. So we'll have a bit of a recap on what I've done today. We'll start with what we've just finished, which is these. Now, I made these to use as little tuck spots in journals or to embellish a page, or you could stick them on an envelope. That even look quite nice on cards. Just something that's ready to go in my journals for a bit of embellishment. So I've got the stenciling on the background, then the die cuts, and then I thought it was a good excuse to drag out the threads that I keep. And yeah, because my pile's getting quite big. And use some of them as well, just for a bit of extra on the page. So I'll go through those. And it's just your fly book page for the background. You could cut your die cuts out of your fly book page as well, which would look really cool. But I do have a stack of coloured cardstock here that I haven't been using much, so it's good to be using that these days. So I just did all sorts of different colours. These would go really nice in some nature themed journals. Or as I said, if I want to whip up a quick card, I can always stick one of these on the front. So that is those. You can make these real quick as well, a whole heap all at once, especially if you don't swap colours out like I was, because I kept having to change my ink pads. So if you do like the same colour and a whole heap of those and then swap over your inks for the next colour, would be a lot quicker and easier. And then the other project we did was using bee-themed bookmark dies. I love these, and I so love how it turned out. You saw the page before I die cut that I had used my brayer to colour, and it just looks like a mess really. But once you die cut it, I just love the colour. Beautiful. And this is the one that we used oxide ink on to do some stamping in the background. It's funny because that was quite a bright orange, and it looks like the orange colour's almost gone from it and it's just sort of whitish, but I really like that as the background. These are the singular little dies that come in the set. And then I swapped out black backgrounds and the orange backgrounds just to show you the difference. But absolutely love it. And I did learn after a bit not to try and rub the glue off if it oozed out at all. I like to use my little pokey tool and just like scratch it off. That works much better for me. It doesn't make such a mess. And I've put different toppers in them all. I've used ribbons and other textiles that I have here. Just beautiful. Now they are a little bit curly because of the glue and everything, so I'll have to sit them under a book. And that's the backing that I did on there as well. So they can be written on, because if I'm going to use things like this in my journal, that's what I make most of my embellishments for. I want them to be useful as a writing spot. So I absolutely love these, but I did two with the same cover piece just to show you the difference between cutting it in black and cutting it in the colour. But yeah, absolutely love how they turned out. Love those dies. They are going to be so handy, especially the plain one. I've got so many ideas of how I want to use that in the future to make bookmarks, which will be wonderful. But I do love the tops as well. They're very pretty, and I can use that in sunflower journal if I want, and then heaps of bee ones for the bee journals. So that was heaps of fun making all of that. I had a ball and learnt heaps, so a massive thank you to Globleland. Their links are down below to their shop, as well as the individual products that I am playing with this tutorial and my next one. I've still got one to go with this lot of goodies. There's also a discount code, which is NAT10. If you use that on checkout, you'll get 10% off of your order at Globleland. So take care of yourselves, be good, and I will see you again soon. Bye.